Hi, I'm Matt Moran. Welcome to Kitchen Tales. There's nothing I like more than catching up with mates while I cook for them in my kitchen. It's where all the best stories are told. Today I've invited a friend into my home to chat about their lives. I've done some digging into their favourite food memories, and while we chat, I'll be whipping up something delicious inspired by their stories. Sometimes what I come up with might really surprise them. So join us in the kitchen. I'm looking forward to sharing their kitchen tales with you.
Oh, wow. Oh, Maddie.
My guest today is Charlie Arnott. He's a farmer, he's an educator and an all-round great guy. Might be a little bit of a man crush there. He's just driven up from the farm. I'll go grab him now. Charlie.
Matthew.
How are you, buddy?
I'm well, mate.
Mate, it's so good to see you.
Yeah.
And you drove from the farm?
Yeah, just got here.
Let's go talk farm.
Definitely.
Charlie, grab a seat.
Thanks, mate.
Mate, I Zoomed you the other day, got all the really good information. I'm going to start with a little tiny snack.
Yep.
Something that I know that you loved and that I think your father used to give it to you when you were growing up.
The calf tongue.
Calf's tongue, right.
That only happened once.
It only happened once, and you hated it that much.
I did.
But you eat anything.
I do.
Yeah, right.
I'd eat it again though.
Would you? Mate, you wait until you try this. This is...
That's not a calf tongue.
No, it's not a calf's tongue. This is, I have to say, it's one of my favourite things to eat. This is a wagyu tongue.
Beautiful.
And I cooked it last night, and I cooked it for hours in the oven, just in a court bouillon.
Wow.
And I've used that court bouillon for something else actually, but I'm just going to peel the skin off. And what I've done is I've pickled it a little bit.
So the wagyu tongue, is it marble in the tongue as well?
It is, yeah.
Fair thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is high fat. I love corned meat. You know, I grew up on that sort of stuff. So when I actually cook it, I put a little bit of vinegar in it. So it slightly pickles it. So you can eat it raw, but tell me about the calf's tongue, buddy.
It's scarred on my mind. So Mum must have been away. She didn't go away much, but Dad used to go away a lot. But this time Mum was away. She mustn't have left anything for him to prepare for me. A calf's tongue sandwich appeared, and you know that brown white bread? It was like dyed brown bread.
Yeah.
More tomato sauce, just drowned it in tomato sauce.
And did Dad cook much or not?
Not so much dinners and things. He used to do breakfast often on weekends, and porridge was his thing. But he used to put it through the blender, and it was so fine and creamy, and butter, like big chunks of butter and brown sugar.
I'm going to do a little dressing with this while I'm talking to you, and I'm going to fry this because, as I mentioned before, it's high fat content. When you start to fry, it actually just deep fries itself in its own fat.
Can we have a whisker of coal?
Yeah,
let's do that.
I knew you were going to say that.
Why not?
It's just like corned meat because I've put a little bit of pickle in there. Soft as anything. Quite fat though.
You wouldn't know its tongue.
No, you wouldn't have a clue. No.
Which is a good thing.
Which is a good thing. Is where the calf's tongue, you definitely knew it was. I've just got a little bit of bread. Been baking last couple of days.
Beautiful.
Soaked it in milk. So this is a real northern Italian sort of dressing. Some salt. And a whack of clove of garlic in it. Because you married to an Italian, aren't you?
I am. Angelica, she's half Italian. Her father grew up on Stromboli, on the volcano.
Yep.
And he was a stonemason and a fisherman.
Stonemason and a fisherman.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put a little bit of cider vinegar in that. You're actually not a bad cook, Charlie.
Well, you haven't spoken to my wife, Matt.
Oh, really? she says that you're
Well,
not.
she's a very good cook, and so I'm not confident in the kitchen when she's around at all.
This makes me really nervous now because you get a little bit nervous when she's around, but you're more than happy to cook for me when I'm around.
That's how nervous I get around my wife.
Because we were down at the farm and you cooked some beautiful lamb, and geez, that was a real treat.
I do remember that. You said it was very good.
Tarragon, cider vinegar, and I'm just going to blitz it. Right, so there we have it. Just whack that over there.
Northern Italian, is it? That is
Northern Italian. I'll let you try that. Tell me what you think. Good?
Delish.
It's got a bit
I wish I'd had that when my dad gave me that calf tongue.
So a little bit of oil in a pan. Don't need too much because it's got a high fat content. A little bit of salt. Good on toast actually.
Yeah.
Should we have a bit of toast? Do you want a bit of toast?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, Charlie, so we'll have a little bit of toast with it. This is sourdough, so always really good for toast.
And when did you start? I love sourdough. When did you start making sourdough?
Well, it's been around forever.
Yeah. But in terms of,
But it's got very popular during COVID. And I used to do a lot of pastry in the French restaurant that I worked in. In fact, Charlie, I might have a little surprise later and I might have baked for you.
Well, mate, I hope so. But coming from a long line of bakers, I was hoping for a bit of the good stuff.
You are 6th generation Arnott biscuits?
Yeah, I think so. So it was my great-great-great-grandfather, William, who started the biscuit company.
Yep.
In a little town called Morpeth, just outside of Newcastle, in Maitland. And I think he started with some brothers, and they had a few floods down the Hunter River, and he was the only brother who kept his bakery going.
Right.
Then he moved to Newcastle, and the rest is history, yeah.
And obviously next generation just took it that little step further, and the generation after that.
It grew, yeah.
And then you become a farmer.
And then, so I'm 8th generation farmer on sort of mum's side, and Dad's mother was a farmer as well, and her family. So I went from biscuits to beef.
Biscuit to beef.
Yeah. Well, Dad loved farming. He used to sort of jackaroo on family properties and things.
Right.
But he did 8 years in the factory at Homebush.
Right.
When he left school, and his father, my grandfather, was the general manager for many years.
All right. You can just see that. Look how soft that is now and gooey.
Beautiful.
And I'm just moving it around the toast to get a little bit of that wagyu fat that's coming out.
Beautiful.
I want to talk more about the whole regen farming and biodynamics and how you got into it, because it wasn't just something that happened overnight. This has been going on for a long period in your farming. 15
plus years, yeah. So I guess I grew up at Burrawa, very conventional farming sort of practices. Lots of high chemical input and lots of machinery and lots of output, but it was very intensive, I guess. And then 15 or so years ago, I sort of had a few epiphanies and decided we should change our practices, and we went through a few very dry years. Then started doing, I guess, regenerative farming. It wasn't called that back then, but it was holistic farm management and so on. And then met a fellow called Hamish Mackay, who introduced me to biodynamics. And then we implemented biodynamics at Hannah Minnow, and then started doing courses. I'd host courses at Hannah Minnow with Hamish. And then we were practicing biodynamics, and then away we went. We did courses all over the place. And that's big. It's sort of one of our cornerstone practices.
Is the meat better? Is the farming practices better? Is the land care better? It's all of that all combined, isn't it?
Our philosophy is working with nature.
Yeah.
I consider nature as our most valuable business partner. So in doing so, we can implement lots of different practices. It's the way we graze our animals. It's the habitats we create. It's the consideration of the hydrology and the biology and all sorts of different facets of the landscape. So I'm really a steward. I'm a caretaker of our land. If we were really thinking about it, we'd be thinking about the next 100 years.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The tongue, Charlie, I'm just going to put a little bit of the tarragon on. Something to start with on toast, really. I wasn't going to do toast. All right, mate, grab one of those.
Wow.
And I'm going to get one too. A bit different to the old man's.
A little better, yeah. Just a smidge.
Kitchen Tales with Sam Elson. He's a massive fan of yours. And Sam is growing seaweed, and if you give the cow 0.02% of its diet each day, it eradicates all the methane gas completely. And he gave me a little bit of his seaweed, which I'll share with you. It's fascinating.
Here we go. That's actually really good, isn't it?
That's really good. We talked the other day, and look, there's something that I picked up on that you said, that you'd go out every now and then and have a treat, and it would be Chinese.
Back in the day, yeah.
Back in the day, and tell us a little bit about that. It was obviously Chinese was the big night out, or
when we'd come to Sydney, which was every now and again. Yep. My grandparents lived at Collaroy.
Yep.
But we'd meet them in the city sometimes. There was an Imperial Peking. Yeah, that was a pretty special moment.
I thought about, what Chinese dish to give Charlie, and I thought, well, I'm not going to give you lamb. I'm not going to give you beef. This is something that on a Sunday that, I'm going to have dinner with the family, and I think, God, what am I going to do? So I just quickly knock up a master stock, bring it to the boil, and throw a whole chook in, put a lid on it, forget about it the rest of the day. Come back at 6 o'clock, whether it's cold, warm, or I can reheat it, it's just always perfectly cooked. I've got a couple of litres of chicken stock on the stove, just there, that's the base of it.
Yeah.
It's come to the boil. I've got a little bit of soy. I'm just going to put a little bit of that in. Going to put some, you can use mandarin or orange peel, some cinnamon, star anise in, some ginger. And the great thing about this master stock is once you've got it, you can keep it for years.
Really?
Years. So what I do is every time I use it, I bring it back to the boil, I strain it, and then leave it as the base for the next one I do. So then I add a little bit more freshness to it, some more coriander, some more herbs and whatever it lacks, and I just keep using it. And there's been stories of master stocks being kept for, 100 years.
It's like a mother broth.
It's like a mother broth. Bit of Moran, Charlie, which is just a Japanese sweet wine.
Beautiful.
I like a little bit of acid, so lots of vinegar. Rice wine vinegar.
A bit of tang.
Some sugar. Where all the flavour is in the coriander, the root. The great thing about this, Charlie, is that no one can mess it up because by the time the stock cools down, your chook is perfectly cooked. There's not enough heat in there to overcook it, and there's enough heat in there not to undercook it. That's boiling, and you just put it into the master stock. All you do is bring it back to the boil, leave the lid on now. Once you see it come to the boil, about a minute, turn it off, forget about it.
Really? So Ange, when she's in the kitchen, she's got a broth on the stove all the time. She doesn't let it get to boil, like it's just that simmer.
Right.
And she, especially when she's reheating it, she doesn't like to get it to boil. She thinks it takes sort of some of the nutrients out or some of the value.
Not Chinese. This is Italian cooking.
This is, well, it's her style. Yeah.
It's her style.
Yeah.
I never like, and that's just ingrained in me in my upbringing and training. You never boil the crap out of a stock or anything. And to not get a cloudy sauce or a cloudy stock, you bring it to the boil, turn it down, and it's just that bubbling simmer. Right, so that's come to a simmer. Turn that off, forget about it, gone.
She's going to love that.
Just gone, that's history. Leave that there for another day.
Yep.
And here's one that I did earlier.
Hey, you've been busy.
I made this morning after the gym, and it's gone cool. You can see the colour of it, same chook, same master stock. Look at that.
Wow. Yeah, beautiful.
And that's your master stock chook.
Can we eat that now, please?
Yeah, we
Stop teasing me.
we are going to eat it. I'm going to actually serve it with a couple of bits and pieces. I'm going to cook some veggies. But I think whenever you have Chinese chicken, you've got to have a shallot dressing.
Okay.
And you can buy the little ones in Chinese stores. It's not enough. I like it to be really abundant. So I just get some shallots. I'm just going to chop them really fine. Lots of shallots. Julienne into a bowl. So heavily salted, like that. I'm going to put some peanut oil or grapeseed oil, a neutral oil over the top. And I'm going to add a lot of vinegar. By adding this vinegar to it, it helps breaks down the shallots, but it gives it that real tang when you're eating your chicken.
Yeah.
A bit of ginger, just grate it. So just a little bit of grated garlic. As we're doing this, that'll just break down. See, there's some liquid in there.
Yeah, right.
That's just the vinegar and the salt and the oil mixed together. And even straight away, it reacts to the shallots. It just breaks it down.
Yeah, it's like melting.
Yeah. It's nice and salty. See that now, look at that, it's nearly a sauce. Our sauce is done, chicken's there. I'm going to just cook some greens, because I think, we've always got to have our greens, but would you normally just cook at home? Like, what do you eat at home? It's not lamb and beef every time, is it?
No, I mean, I always like protein in my meals. Ange does most of the cooking. And being Italian, so dinners, lots of pasta, lots of salads. She's reasonably experimental in the kitchen, which is great. And she loves the broths too. So she's always got a broth on the stove. And that's a staple for us. The kids have broth for breakfast. So, yeah, it's unreal. And but now there's always something in the fridge, there's always something on the stove. I mean, I don't go hungry at all.
Yeah.
That's why I just don't have breakfast, because if I had 3 of those meals a day, I'd be rotund.
Rotund. Now there's my chook. I'm going to serve it at room temperature, Charlie. I'm not going to reheat it.
Yeah, do it.
And I just think that's a nice way of eating. You see that fat on top of it. Beautiful. How good does that look? And look at the colour of it.
Snuck under that skin.
Mate, why not? So I've got some veggies in there, Charlie. Nice greens.
Yep.
Lots of Chinese greens. I'm just going to get rid of that water.
Now, I can't remember those sort of greens that the Imperial Peking made. I don't know what they were, but they weren't that.
You know, what you can do, you can always put a little bit of soy or chili or oyster sauce is always great. First of all, I'm going to grab chicken rice. So this
Chicken
is,
rice?
Yeah, chicken rice. It's not
It's been through a chicken already,
It's been through a chicken. You can see the colour of it. It's got a little taint of yellow.
Yeah, nice.
So rather than just boiling chicken stock in there, a tiny little bit of duck fat.
Beautiful.
That I had left over from the cassoulet. And you can see it's got a little bit of a greasy shine to it.
Yeah. Talking about duck fat, one of the things I do in the kitchen is cook with pig fat. I like steaks, like beef steaks with pig fat, and eggs with pig fat.
Oh, that'd be good.
Oh, delicious.
How are your pigs?
They're great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we sent some to Sydney the other day.
Saw that, yeah. Mate, I'll follow your Instagram. Don't miss a beat. Right, now.
I'm just trying to keep it interesting for you, mate.
Mate, that's all you need to do. I'm just going to cut it down the leg.
Yep.
You see that straight away when I do that. Pink.
Oh yeah, a bit of pink there.
That's pink on the bone.
Yep.
And that's, to me,
Is that okay?
that's exactly how I want it.
Yeah, right.
You know, when you go to a really good Chinese shop and you can see that there, that's 100% cooked. And if it was any more than that, I'd be really worried. But just pink on the bone like that. Yeah.
Years of experience right there.
Years
mate.
of experience.
Yeah, find that knuckle.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
That looks unreal.
Looks good, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
And then just straight down one side through the next knuckle, and then I just wheel it round, I just peel it off. You can see that's all cooked. Still a little bit pink on the bone, that's exactly what I wanted. Cut that in half. On there, next knuckle. Make sure you get all that skin if you can. Up there, in half. Coriander over that. I do like my coriander. So, mate, all we do is sauce over the top, like that. And that's ready to go. That's a little bit left over. That's our chook that we're going to take over there. But before we do, Charlie, there's a couple of things I just want to ask. 6th generation baker, 2 things.
Yes.
Right? Bit of a baker myself.
Yeah.
I remember you made a comment that you love lemon tart. So I've made you a beautiful lemon tart.
Get out of here.
That is still warm.
Yeah. Can we have that first?
No, we can have that last. But I've also got to ask, what's your favourite?
And I have the good old orange slice.
Is it really?
Yeah. I reckon that's the best dunker. Can I have this before?
You can have that one now, mate. I just thought I'd do that. Charlie, a little bit of Westholme wagyu tongue. We've got some beautiful Chinese poached chicken, shallot sauce, lemon tart. Jeez, you've got a lot of food.
I know. It's going to come with me.
It is. Mate, absolute pleasure having you here. Love what you do, love your story, and in fact, love you, buddy.
Love you too. Feelings mutual.
Good. And we go and eat?
Let's do it.
All right, mate.